So, hey, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Appreciate it. So I'm going to ask some general questions, and then we'll try and get into a little more about kind of your personal history and how you see the community and any thoughts and opinions you have along the way. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So, take me back to a younger time, a younger Fathlo. What is your sort of entry point into speedrunning? What is your first experience with that?
Well, my first experience with speedrunning is actually Final Fantasy games. I started streaming in 2014, doing FF4 speedruns. And then from there, I moved on to FF6 and did that for quite a while. And then in like mid-2015, I was like, what's another game I can speedrun? And DKC was the first game I ever played on the SNES. So I was like, yeah, let's take a look at that. And I actually, the first run I ever watched was one of Peachy's. I think he had a 3320 something at the time. And I just looked on YouTube and I was like, DKC speedrun. And Peachy's was the first one that came up. So, from there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Talk over me, please.
From there, I watched that run and tried to do a few things. Was pretty bad at it. And then a little bit later that year, I stumbled upon the DKC wiki, DKC speedrun wiki, and the record at the time was Easen's, which was a 32:59. And I was like, well, that's quite a bit faster than Peachy's run. So I'd been learning off and on mid to late 2015, and then started running early 2016. February, I think.
February.
Yeah.
So
then, the rest is
just so I understand the history. Yeah, right. The rest is history. So you kind of come in around. You said you started streaming in 2014.
Yeah.
But then you kind of started to putz around a little bit in the game, like 2015-ish time.
Yeah.
And then around that time was around the time that Easen had his 32:59. So
yeah, that's like when that. Like I had been learning off and on after watching Peachy's run, and I stumbled upon the wiki and started learning some more things.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't start until February 2016. And at the time, I like right before I started running, a new trick was found, and like right before that trick was found, I was almost ready to start running, but then this new trick called the SJR was found, the super jump roll, and I was like, okay, well maybe I got to step back a bit and practice a little more, learn this new trick.
So you were ready to put the game down, and then they discovered the super jump roll. Is that?
I was ready to start running, but then the super jump
start
roll was
running.
found. Yeah. So I was like, okay, wow. I'll step back for a little bit longer. I think the SJR was found in January 2016.
Right.
So
right.
Then I started running in February. Yeah.
So I know what an SJR is, and CC knows what an SJR is. But for the video, if you can explain it to me, like I have no idea what it is. So if we can't, in case we need an explanation, I might do the other tricks. While I got you talking about it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Before it was found, there was a trick called a super jump. Essentially, like once you set up a super jump, you just fly in the air for as long as you can. Well, you fly in the air for as long as you're holding down B. And yeah, that's basically it for a super jump. Jump roll itself, though, is it's a frame perfect trick. You need to roll on an enemy and bounce off them at the exact same time, so on the same frame. And up until then, nobody had decided to try to combine the two. And then a guy named Rainbow Sprinkles was like, what if I combine the two? And you got the super jump roll, which is essentially like a super jump where you fly over a level, but you cartwheel through it, and you're moving at a much faster speed.
So I hear frame perfect, and I know that it's difficult, right? Or you say it's easy, but if I asked you to, hey, do 1,000 of these, like how many of these do you make on average? Like, what's the kind of like how
If
many makes to misses?
I mean, doing 1,000 attempts is a lot.
Well, it's like
I'm
the old adage of
50-50.
like,
I mean, 1,000, I'm probably
50-50.
50-50. In some cases, I'm more like 70%.
Okay.
It kind of depends on the jump roll itself. There's also one that's not exactly frame perfect, so that one's a lot easier.
Which one is that one?
There's a super jump roll in Rope Bridge Rumble. It only saves about 8 seconds over the level, but it takes about 12 seconds of setup time.
4-6, by the way.
And the reason why it's not exactly frame perfect is because it's done off a tire, which, if set up perfectly, you have 7 frames.
Oh,
You
wow,
know,
7 frames.
Yeah. It's like from 1 to 7 frames.
Okay, that's much better range though than just a single frame.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of top runners go for it.
That's good.
Do you remember what your first time was? I'm just curious.
It was 40 something, 40ish.
Everybody has humble beginnings. Remember that.
Yeah.
So, CC, do you have anything that you want to?
I mean, the first like real time that I highlighted on my channel was a 35, which was only a couple days after I got to 40.
Right.
And those
A
were
much
only
better
my first
improvement.
run, so I died like everywhere. Hadn't really strung together 4 runs at the time.
Mhm.
And you kind of got to do that in speedrunning. You can't just like I practiced a lot before going into my first runs, but I mean, just practicing levels and whatnot is not the same as doing a full run.
Yeah, no, I always advocate like do full runs at the beginning.
Yeah,
because you need to get that late game practice. If you keep resetting early on, then you're never going to get that far. So you gotta
exactly.
You gotta just get it all the way through, even if it's bad, even if you die, and if you mess up, just gotta keep going. So
yep.
So there was something that I wanted to ask about that I heard from Peachy when I was talking to him the other day, and he was saying that there are other super jump rolls in other stages that are not being used. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Is there a reason why they don't go for those? Or
well, some of them are like, this game has a lot of frame perfect tricks, and some of them you can't really justify the time save, especially when you're on a good run. Like, for example, in World 6, there is a frame perfect trick in every single level. But most people only route 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 of 5.
The 6-1, the 6-3, and the 6-5.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, there's one in Manic Mincers. It saves 6 seconds, but it's not like too hard, but it's right after you do a really major trick, which is in 6-1, and the jump rolls in that level save the most time out of everything. So after getting through the whole game, you get to 6-1, you finally hit the frame. It's like, do you want that 6 seconds when you can also get 20 and then an easy 8 in the final level? Right before the final level, there's one in there too, but that only saves 3 seconds.
Okay. So there's like the risk reward isn't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one other one in World 5 that a couple people go for because it saves 12.
Oh,
but it's a little weird because it's very, very precise. It's one of those ones that's like frame and a few pixels perfect. So unless you're like really, really, really good on it, it's a tough call to actually go for it. But there are a couple runners that go for it. Stu being one of them. He's got a 32, 20, 24, 25 maybe, somewhere around that range.
Okay.
And he's really consistent at it. And I mean, another caveat to that one though is you have to do a different setup in a 5-1, where you go for a damageless SJR, which is a little awkward.
Yeah, because there's a way to do a super jump without a sacrifice, right? I remember seeing that at some point. You can
not a super jump itself with a sacrifice, but a super jump roll. Because all you need to do after, like, so I didn't actually explain the whole setup for a super jump itself earlier, but You need to sacrifice a Kong on a wall, and that will make the Kong fly upwards off screen.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't fly upwards off screen, the Kong will just like move off to the right of the screen, and then you don't actually have the super jump storage. So to do a sacrifice list, you sacrifice first. I guess it's not true sacrifices because you do have to sacrifice, but in most other SJR setups, you sacrifice twice. But for a sacrifice list, yeah, you set up the super jump like normal, kill the Kong on the wall. And then instead of doing the second sacrifice, you just swap and hold down B. And then you try to hit another jump roll. And then that gets you into SJR state.
Okay. Yeah, this super jump stuff is super complicated. I'm surprised you guys have found so many, but then again, given enough time, I guess just you find everything you can. So you said you started running in 2015 or so, or right, 2016. Sorry. When did you realize that you had the potential to take the world record?
Later that year. I mean,
So
the SJR
by the end of 2016, you really thought you had it?
Mid 2016.
Okay.
I mean, I had the potential then because, like, up until that point, like I said, Eason had a 3259 when I started running. Shortly after that, he got a 3240 using the new SJRs that were found. So that, I mean, ever since then, we knew that getting a 31 was possible. It was barely possible at the time. Quite a little bit easier now because there's a couple of new frames added in. But yeah, like mid 2016, knew it was possible. I actually ended up tying Eason's 3240 briefly. He had a 3240, not an exact tie, he had a 3240.1, and I ended up getting a 3240.7.
Goodness. Yeah, I hear that there's a lot of tied.
Yeah, there's a long history of like 1 second bops or ties in DKC1, even with all the frame perfect tricks. Kind of funny.
That is so strange.
But yeah, I ended up tying that. He ended up beating it at that point, and the following year, I actually went to AGDQ and raced him and Silent Wolf for part of the DKC relay that we had going on then.
I was in the crowd for that.
Nice.
Yeah. It's funny because CJ didn't know that because I didn't really know CJ back in 2017. Yeah. And so we were doing this video, and he was like, "Yeah, the DKC's been at GDQ." I was like, "Oh yeah, I went to one of the relays." Said, "You were?" And so I showed him the video and pointed me out. I'm like, "There I am in the corner. You can see me." Wave my arms like a dummy, like wee.
Nice. But yeah, I never actually took the record for the first time until this year. And Peachy had the record at the time. It was 32:19.
Yep.
And I got a 32:15, taking it by 4 seconds. So that was the first time I had the record myself.
Gotcha. Yeah. I have a little timeline here I got set up here. You got that on April 23rd.
Yeah. That was actually funny too because like my screen name is Fathlo23, and my previous PB before that was on the 23rd, on a month before that.
Yeah, 23rd's your lucky day, man.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean at that point I got the 32:15. Eason actually came back for a bit, got 32:13, and then that was it for a little while. Void started running again, got 32:12, and then I started picking it back up again, got 32:10.
Then eventually a 31:59.
Yeah, 32, or I got the 31:59, beating my previous run by 11 seconds. It's not too long ago. I don't remember the date on that though.
11:06.
Ah, okay.
So speaking of which, so you broke the 32-minute barrier. You got into the 31, and that took 3 years to do, from 32 down to 31.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take to get to 30xx?
Yeah, it's technically possible, but you'd have to incorporate so many tricks.
And have a godly every run. Single SJR that's ever been found.
Like, I mean, I didn't even mention all the other possible SJRs earlier.
Right.
There's a couple more. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but It's technically
That's right.
possible with a god run and all those dumb tricks. Because yeah, like even in World 3 and 3 Forest Frenzy, you can do a sacrifice with SJR there and then do an SJR in the next level, Temple Tempest. But the problem with the sacrifice SJR in Forest Frenzy is it's impossible.
Just super duper hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a task for all stages?
No. There was a guy, the guy who found the SJR's Rainbow Sprinkle was kind of working on one, but he never
That's a shame.
stuck to it.
I wonder if Tompo would ever consider doing one.
Eh,
I've heard that he mainly always sticks with any percent 100.
yeah, he said that he doesn't really find passing all stages that interesting, so I don't think that's really on his timeline.
I'm gonna talk to him at some point, so I'll bring that up.
He is the de facto DKC1 dude.
Yeah, I can bring him down. Hey, excuse me, sir. We need this. Right? Do you not care about the community? Okay. What do you think is going to be the next SJR that's going to be implemented?
If I had to guess, it would be Manic Mincers. Because it's not too hard, and it's 6 seconds one. Not too hard, saves about the same time as Perils. It's just the only difference. I don't know the setup time on Manic Mincers, but like Perils only saves 8, but the setup time is like 1 second. So
right,
it's definitely more. I haven't timed it myself for Mincers, but you could also do the other one, Loopy Lights. It's not too hard, but it's a little finicky because it's kind of another frame and pixel perfect. Like you can get the frame not too bad, but if the Kremling that bounces is a little bit off, you get what we call a single explosion jump roll, which if you get a single explosion when you do an SJR, you don't get the cartwheel state, you just get the jump roll state, and that doesn't help you at all in Loopy.
Gotcha.
If you want to see that one though, I do it in my 90% run, and also a Japanese runner in Rio who just took the record from me in 90% does do that as well.
Okay, I'll look into it. Okay. So at this point, do you plan on coming back? Because your run is like pretty optimized at this point.
I don't have a lot of motivation for doing all stages right now, at least grinding hard.
Okay.
Because 31 has been my goal for a long time.
I bet. I mean, it's one of those things where it was the dream, for 2 years,
exactly.
And then finally you got it. I think in your Twitch chat, I saw chat was saying the end of an era.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like a monumental occasion.
Yeah.
Were you around whenever Eason got the 3259?
I was around. I remember seeing it on Twitter. I just had only started learning then. Like I'd learned a little bit in the summer just before Eason got it, and I think he got that in October. And I remember seeing it on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, amazing!"
Yeah. Does
and at the same time, I had also found that
one feel monumental like this one does?
I mean, I didn't see the run. I wasn't around, but it definitely was monumental. I know Eason thought the run was unbeatable, and it kind of was. I mean, there was some strats he didn't do then. Some newer strats we found over the years. Not the SJR, but some minor stuff that you could save a couple seconds here and there. But yeah, it was definitely one of those runs that would be very, very hard to beat.
Right. I think I cut you off at some point. Were you saying something?
I don't remember.
Okay, we'll move on. So besides sort of more super jump rolls, do you see any potential glitch ideas that are sort of like haven't come to fruition just yet, that are sort of out there?
Not so much for all stages. I know there's a guy, Snack Pack, that's been kind of working on some idea to bring an animal buddy into a level. Because, like for example, if you brought Engard into a level that he can't normally swim, you can just fly through the whole level.
Oh.
So there's some stuff that could maybe be found.
Is interesting.
Nothing that I can really think of off the top of my head. I mean, I've been studying this game for years. Okay. And I don't know. That's really the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. I like asking that question mainly because I think I asked Almo that question for TTYD, and I was like, so what are some things that are on the horizon? I had just messaged him in chat, and he was like, yeah, we're actually looking to see if there's a way to get into, Twilight Town early or something. And then like 2 months later, I come back and they found that trick, and it was like they thought it was possible, and they're like, we don't know how, but we're going to find a way. And then eventually, that discovery led to that discovery, and I love the idea of like,
yeah. I mean, stuff can always change,
Yeah. But what I love is the idea of like being on the so, as from a programmer stance, we can't see the game code. So we don't know how it really works deep down.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I think we can do this. It's like what gives you any possible idea that you could possibly do anything like that? Because it's entirely possible you could never do that.
Yeah. But, I mean from looking at it like that, with all stages, like you have to beat all the stages, so
right.
There's not really going to be like a huge skip, I think, but maybe something minor.
Yeah, because I mean, with like map warp,
yeah, exactly.
You skip. You could skip technically. You could skip all the way to 3.5.
And if you just if you just look at any percent, like we already have those big skips that skip everything. So
yeah. So already it's like there's so much cut out. So
yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Alrighty, let's see. I think I had one more question. No, I already asked that question. Okay. Is CJ back? CJ disappeared for a minute.
Sorry, there was a commotion outside. I went to investigate, and disappointingly, it was not interesting.
Oh,
not as interesting as what's happening in this room. So you said that you've ran Donkey Kong Country a few times at GDQ. Is that right? Is it more than one?
Once, just once.
Once. Yeah. Are you doing it at this upcoming GDQ?
Yeah. We have a DKC 1 race happening. Me, Stu, and Void.
Nice. You hyped for that? You have any inside information for those wanting to bet on the event?
Put your money on Stu. He's a little bit more consistent than me.
I'm about to break Void's thumbs that you can coast on in, man. I'll pull hard for you. If I see you at GDQ, I'll buy you a beer.
All right.
CC, I think you did a great job. I don't have any other questions unless you do.
No, at this point, I guess it's just I'll be at GDQ, so if I see you, I'll give you a high five, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
CJ will buy you a beer, I'll give you a high five.
Cool.
You're really underwhelming. Jeez, high five.
Sorry, I lowballed.
It's like you're his uncle or something. He gets better than a hand job, but damn.
Oh, damn.
From your uncle.
Right, hey, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming out.